All right, this is CJ again from the GOAT Sports Talk. And, of course, as we're getting prepared to watch game two, what are some of the things we want to look out for? Of course, we know what happened in game one, pretty much the beat down, just similar to last year in game one with Golden State, pretty much beating up on the Cavaliers. And at this point, we know pretty much what's happened. We know about the dynamic duo, the Batman and Robin of LeBron James and Kyrie Irving. They were combined 19 for 42 in the game. They seem to be the ones that were really involved offensively. Of course, we know that if you've been paying attention to the stat sheet, Kevin Love really had a good game. He pretty much imposed his will early on in the game by going into the paint and drawing a couple of fouls on Draymond Green. And he was 15 points. He had 21 rebounds, which to me, that's a solid game. So amongst the big three, they did kind of impose a little bit of their will upon the game, but it wasn't enough. As we know, outside of LeBron and Kyrie Irving being 19 for 42 from the field, the rest of the team was 11 for 44, which is just not going to get the job done. But really, when you examine the game, ultimately it comes down to ball control. The Cavaliers, they're just going to have to stop turning over the ball. You cannot have 20 plus turnovers in a game and the other team only turns the ball 4 times and expect to win. Even if you control the boards, that's just not enough. Another thing, they got to cut away easy baskets for Kevin Durant. I'm going to be honest with you. I really believe that in this game, the Cavaliers are going to have to force Klay Thompson and Draymond Green to actually step up offensively in this game. There's going to be a concerted effort to make it very difficult for Kevin Durant to get going. We'll see how well that works. They're going to be more physical with Stephen Curry. There's no doubt about it. You got to make him run around screens. You got to make him feel, some physicality on the other end of the floor. Okay, so that means you got to run him off of screens. You got to do pick and rolls. You got to make him switch off to LeBron or a bigger player that can basically beat him down low. So that means even sometimes doing, a two-man game with either Kyrie and Kevin Love and basically making them switch and then bringing them down into the post and making them force themselves to double team that man. I believe that really, when you look at it, Golden State, but what they have to do is they have to keep playing their game, keep being aggressive, use the crowd to their advantage, and keep that momentum going. Eventually, Klay Thompson is going to have a decent game. I'm talking about he's going to need to have a 25 to 30 point game, along with at least one of the other two having a great game as well, in order for them to continue, winning these games. It's going to definitely be somewhat of a different game. If for some reason the Cleveland Cavaliers are not able to impose themselves physically, again, Tristan Thompson was a no-show. Okay, Tristan Thompson was a no-show. He did not impose himself. I know he was getting double teamed or whatever, but he has to basically be on there on the offensive glass. He's a very physical player. He can finish around the rim, and when he is in games, other teams can feel him. And if there's one thing that the Cleveland Cavaliers have, is they do have a physicality and a strength as far as the players that they have on their side, and they have to make those guys feel it. At the end of game two, the Cleveland Cavaliers need to have made their presence known, whether they squeak out with it, whether they are able to win or whether they are able to make it a close game, but they're able to carry that physical momentum into the home floor. Last year, of course, we know that they were down 2-0. They were able to come back and bring the series, pretty much a lot closer, or they were down pretty much 3-1, as you know. So it was something that they are able to do. They know they have it, but I believe that, at the end of the day, we got to see how the refs call it. That's the reason why, a lot of times people don't understand about these predictions. You can make these predictions all you want, but at the end of the day, how are the refs calling it? Who are the role players that are going to show up? Because usually the big players show up, and the pressure is on Kyrie Irving and LeBron to have great games, at least on a level of the games that they had. LeBron is definitely not going to have the same amount of turnovers. I expect him that if he gets into the paint, he's going to take the shot rather than pass. If he's double teamed early before he goes up in the air, he's going to pass the ball out to his shooters. I expect a lot more of a closer battle and, a team pulling out with the win. There's going to be probably a lot of, there's going to be some runs as we expect with great teams, but it should be a much more entertaining game, even if it leads to some kind of a blowout or maybe a box score that might not show how close the game really was. So definitely we're going to come through later on tonight with a post-game report of what goes on, and hopefully you out there enjoy the game. And again, we're going to see what happens, man. People are expecting an epic final series. Some people are desiring a sweep out of hatred for, the Cleveland Cavaliers or LeBron, or, protecting the legacy of Jordan or Kobe. Hey, we call it like it is, man. A lot of stuff, a lot of funny business is going on out there with some of the fans of these other teams and these other players as to why they're rooting. Yeah, and it's surprisingly so, it's a lot less people that are rooting against Kevin Durant, even though they felt salty about it around this time or the summertime last year when he signed. So we're going to see what happens, man. Have a good time. Be safe out there and watch the game, and we'll be right back with you later on this evening.